thanks for joining. I'm MLU4 and here we are with Reactivated. We start with what happens next. That's right, I'm about to show you a clip that happened throughout one of the episodes of Series 4.
Okay, well you're seeded 5th, aren't you?
Yeah.
So do your thing.
We'll do our best.
You're not really techies, are you, Long? You're a bit intimidated earlier about all that.
Just build it in the garage, you know. That
Built it in the garage.
Just a hobby. Yeah.
Yes, that was Bolt from the Blue, being interviewed by Julia Reid in Series 4 with its second round fight against Firestorm. But what happens next? The answer will be revealed a little bit later on. We now move on to our fantasy fight. That's right, another three-way is about to happen. If we reach into this very limited edition pencil case, again, Series 1 to 10 robots. I am not looking at all. The first robot is Granny's Revenge 2 from Series 6. What a machine. One of my favourite robots of all time. Behemoth from Series 2. Interesting. And finally, Hydra from Series 7. What an array of robots and weaponry there. Who will win? Granny's Revenge 2, Behemoth or Hydra? The answer will be revealed a little bit later on in the show. Now on to Bot Build. We're now going to move on to another champion. Don't think they're on the wall here, but that is Bot from the Blue and how we built the robots. It's a pretty simple design, and we're going to kind of give a little secret away here, because if we lift open the flipper and the inside of it, you will notice it's actually Doom TNT from our 3rd and 4th series. We've just modified the robot slightly, and boy, was it an improvement. All you'll need is the actual plastic bit that came with the pit stop kits that we use for Doom TNT, so the green bit of plastic, and a blue sheet of paper. And then all you'll need to do is mark out each part of the robot. The robot is actually split into 7 parts, plus a little bit of cardboard used for the actual flipper, as you can see here. So it's simple, just mark out your body panels, of course the main long bit of the flipper, along with the underneath bits that will cover the actual green body. Then you've got your 2 side panels for each side, slightly different to give the kind of wedge look that you can see on the final robot. You'll have the 2 main side panels, the triangular shapes, and then the back panels as well. Once you've made these shapes, it's simple. You just get a pair of scissors and start cutting and gluing onto the green plastic body. And there you'll have it, Bot from the Blue. It really was a Bot from the Blue. Hope that's helped you. If you want to feature Bot from the Blue in your channel, in your series, feel free to do so. Thank you very much for your comments on Bot Build and what you'd like to see in the next episode. Then do leave your comments in the video below. There have been many best battles throughout Robot Wars, and of course we've mentioned some of them here on Reactivated. But eventually we will do some sort of 10 best battles ever, but we're just sort of drip feeding these in to you. Today we are talking about a fight that happened in Series 4. For me, my favourite fight probably of the whole of Series 4, and it featured Hypnodisc against Splinter. What a meeting this was. This made me just chuckle, cackle. I was one of those fights where it was just satisfying to watch, really. Probably my favourite fight of Hypnodisc since the fight against Robogeddon back in Series 3. It really did destroy Splinter. Now, give Splinter its credit. It was on the attack for at least the first 30 seconds of the fight. Their idea was to actually attack Hypnodisc dead on and just keep on at it, so it didn't have time for the disc to rev up. And it did work for a bit. But then, just a tiny dip in concentration from the Splinter team, it allowed Hypnodisc to rev up and boy did it rev up and cause ultimate carnage. At this point, certainly from me, back in the day watching it, when of course it was live on BBC Two, watching that fight just brought a smile to my face. It absolutely decimated Splinter, probably the most destruction of a robot from Hypnodisc that we ever saw throughout its reign in the arena. Probably up until we saw Carbide in Series 8 onwards. This was the fight that caused utter devastation to the opposition, and poor Splinter was on the end of some horrific attacks. What do you think? This was a great fight, one of my top fights of the entire run, never mind just Series 4. They actually cut a little bit out because in some rare footage of the extended fight, Kill-A-Lot used the floor flipper and then dumped Splinter into the pit. So yeah, it was interesting to see those additions to the fight which they ended up cutting out. Hypnodisc versus Splinter, it will go down as one of the most jaw-dropping, satisfyingly destructive fights I think we've ever witnessed in the arena. And thank God it happens, because it just showed how much destruction Hypnodisc could cause, and did.
Very close fight. We're going to have to go to the judges on that one. Only joking.
It is the 5th edition of the Robot Wars magazine, the original run of 20 issues, over 20 months, 20 issues. Now for me, have you noticed, because this was issue 5, on the first issue you had Kill-A-Lot on the front, then you had Sergeant Bash, then Dead Metal, then Shunt for issue 4. So I was half expecting Matilda to pop up on the front here, so I was a bit disappointed when she didn't. Instead we got this very mean, green-looking picture of Sir Kill-A-Lot. It's a great picture, but I would have liked to have seen Matilda on the front, because she never actually, certainly an actual picture of the House Robot. She was in a later graphic, a sketch, but in actually having her on the front, she never got onto the front. And it was all about the new presenter, Julia Reed. I might do a little bit of a feature on Julia Reed and maybe a couple of other of the presenters at some point in the future. It also gave us a little bit of news on the upcoming Toy Story that was the remote-controlled robot at the time. And then we move on to the Shunt Origins. Again, I have mentioned this before, I was never really a fan of these origin stories. Then there was a great photo of all things Sir Kill-A-Lot. As you can see, the new pincers, the new jaws being added for Series 4, and would continue to have those jaws till the end of the run. Now, Colin Tilley, he was the guy behind Sir Kill-A-Lot in control. He must have had the best job ever. And then what an epic picture here of Sergeant Bash. Of course, that was how he looked before he got completely battered after the end of Series 3, because he was like a sergeant that had been through the wars after Series 3. Battered and bruised, his paintwork was coming off. So yeah, good photo there. Then of course we had the main article on Julia Reed. And this was the issue that was warming us up for the 4th series, because a bit later and further towards the back it has a list of all of the seeds ready for Series 4, and then of course on the back it has Julia pointing at us with Robot Wars magazine wants you at the 4th Wars, which included the free Series 4 wall chart, which is here, filled in with every single fight. So that has managed to stay in pristine condition, and this is now on the back here with all of the other posters. And then of course, for anyone who was interested and liked the look of Philippa, there was a nice picture of her on the back there. So that was issue 5, the last issue really before the start of the 4th series of Robot Wars. Delboy 666 BPHHE. And your question is, of all our robots, so from our series 1 to 8, which performed worst? Yeah, I was doing a little bit of thinking and probably going back back to Series 1. There were 2 robots for me that stood out that really didn't perform, and they were Jar Jar and Jack, and they both featured in Heat 6 of our first series. That's right. And it just briefly, from what the bot builder's question was on whether Jar Jar would return, I'm not going to say anything. You never know. He might return at a later date, in a later episode, at some point in some capacity. But yes, Jar Jar and Jack for me were just terrible. They were, as you can probably imagine and guess, they were last-minute additions really, because we'd actually run out of ideas for Series 1 in that last heat for robots. So Jack and Jar Jar were brought in. So thank you Delboy666, BPHAG, that is what I think, who performed worst in our series. Next we're on to Stanley V. Your question is what my view is on the 10 robots rumble in Series 10. Who should have done worse or better? Well, for me, Stanley, thank you very much for your question. For me, it wasn't just one of the best fights ever, but that whole grand final episode of Series 10 was probably, in fact, no, not probably, it was my favourite grand final episode of any series that was aired. It was fantastic. But in terms of the actual robot rumble, I would have liked to have seen Iron Ore's flipper work, because we never really got to use it. I think they could have done so well if that flipper had worked. Eruption didn't really keep in with the spirit. Okay, tactically, it was a good play. Fair enough, no, not a problem. They didn't really get involved. So I was a bit underwhelmed with Eruption's performance in the 10-way rumble. But Traction and Expulsion, I think they could have done a little bit better. Obviously, they were never really going to get that far in the competition. But overall, it was a mess, wasn't it? It was a joyous, metallic mess. And I loved it. I loved it. One of the best fights, one of the best finals we've ever seen. So thank you, Sally, for your comment. Next, we've got Jacob Ruti. Wants to know who my favourite American robot is. Okay. There's obviously been quite a few. Stating the obvious, like Tombstone and Witch Doctor. I'm not going to state the obvious. For me, it's got to be Battle Royale with cheese. I mean, I'm all for fun robots. I mean, I love Granny's Revenge, as some of you will know. So this was just a joy to watch in the American arena. So thank you, Jacob Ruti, for your question. We have just got time for our clip that we showed you at the start, as Julia was in the pits interviewing Bolt from the Blue.
Built it in the garage.
Just a hobby. Yeah. Just a hobby.
And now we can reveal what happens next.
I think you've done very well. Let's see what you're made of.
Doesn't stand a chance, this robot. Doesn't stand a chance. It's going to get battered. Doesn't stand a chance.
Yes, it was an input by Craig Charles in the pits, who we never really got to see in the pits. So it was a nice welcome relief. And of course with Jonathan's input after saying, despite the T-boy in the pits. So yes, well done to everyone who got that. There is also just time to reveal the fantasy fight. We had Granny's Revenge, we had Behemoth from Series 2, and we had Hydra from Series 7. Who would win this? It would have to go to Hydra. Obviously, Behemoth in Series 2 was very primitive. It was very, shall we say, behind with the technology if it was put into a three-way. Having said that, I think they would just about beat Granny's Revenge, but I think Hydra in the end would end up flipping Behemoth over, no self-righting mechanism. Granny's Revenge 2 would be torched, go up in a puff of smoke, and probably have another cooker whacked on her head. So for me, Hydra with the speed and the weapons, of course the axe and the flipper, would annihilate them both. So if you agree with me, that's great. If you don't agree with that, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think of that three-way.
Cease.
Right, so there is the cease. Once again, I want to thank everyone for watching, for having their input. If you do have a question for next time, please leave a comment below. Thank you. And please subscribe, download, share the video. We love making them. We love hearing what you think and what you want to see in the next episode. Do let us know. But until next time, thank you and goodbye.